Norway is actually quite a big country, and if you compare Norway, Sweden, Finland and the Baltic states and everything, UK is quite small. This is my university. It's dispersed along the western coast of Norway. It takes 9 hours to travel from one campus to the other. It equals the distance between London and Manchester, plus 2 ferries of 2 hours. So this is where I work and there where I live. Just another map to just show you how large it actually is. And then, of course, we need some fun facts. The Nordic countries are actually very, very large. There are 5 territories, 5 states, 5 official languages, 5 currencies. And in between, we also have a lot of indigenous people. We have Sami, we have Romani, and we have other, and not to talk about all the migrants. We have a population of approximately 27 millions. And there's a density, and that is interesting when comparing to some of your countries, approximately 6 to 8 persons per square kilometers. But that's in average. If you go into central Oslo, central capitals, it's almost like in London. But actually we do have a lot of place. And compared to UK, you can see that UK has the 78th largest country, whereas we are, when it comes to density, long down at the list. Just to remind you what's going on, where I'm coming from. This is strange. I can't map the complete terrain of what's going on when it comes to community work or community organization, community planning or social mobilization in all these countries. My field of research is predominantly into when it comes to cooperation along the Baltic Sea to healthcare. So I'm involved in a network around the Baltic Sea with all these countries when it comes to related to healthcare. And the key topic is a lot about environmentally sustainable healthcare, and particularly focus on how to reduce the waste production from healthcare sector. In Norway and Scandinavia and Denmark, we have also been involved in several networks in community development, community organization, community work, whatever concept you want to use. And that has been directed towards drug abuse, housing, and also to elder care, and also to organization around people with intellectual disabilities. And of course, area development. But the increasing concern in all our countries is actually social inequalities in health. And I think that also gives a kind of leverage to what we have been preoccupied with all the time, that this is connected to living standard and housing standards and the more general living standards. There is a very interesting thing going on, started last year in Germany, which is called My Country Talks. Have you ever heard about that? It's an initiative taken by some of the largest German newspapers together with the national broadcasters and also a lot of NGOs to set up people who disagree on everything. So they invited a lot of people, it's been done in several countries, to answer questions about key topics that are hot in the media. And then they paired persons who disagreed completely. And they also pair them when it comes to background, to age, but they had to be able to meet. And this is just an example of what occupies people in Norway. And one of the, of course, hot topics in Norway is whether or not to keep on pumping up the oil. Whether that helps to stabilize the climate change, the energy consumption, or we should stop. We also have a discussion in Norway, which you will recognize probably also from England, whether there is a too large a distance between those who are rulers and those who are ruled. We are also having this as Islamic anxiety. And we have a large mobilization. I told some of you yesterday because that people are protesting towards tolls on roads. So some of the political parties that used to be the conservative ones, they have lost almost all their voters. So some of these they only have one case. I don't want to pay taxes when I drive. And they have risen to 25% in some of the cities. And this happened just about less than a year, and we have an election coming in August. And this party is challenged. So do you mean anything about youth work? Do you mean anything about immigration? How about abuse? How about roads, schools, whatever? It's only stop taxation on roads. And then also there are some discussions about gender equality, because now all the schools, all the programs are predominantly female. Most students are female. Boys are allegedly dropping out of high school, and they're not even completing any vocational training. And of course, we have a discussion which survived from the 70s, that a regular working day should only be 6 hours. But I think also this captures a lot of what is going on. And the interesting thing was that when they looked into both this in Norway and in Germany and in England and in Denmark and all places, that when you bring people together, they do disagree, but they actually exercise some kind of curiosity to try to understand each other. And this is set up to make a political dialogue possible. And I think it's interesting that when you bring people together, they actually put effort in to try to understand. Then Norway talks, yes, this is what differs people, and that is no wonder, that's not surprising. So if you just look at this, it looks like it's a very hard polarization going on, which is related to class, gender, ethnicity, residence, and where you live. On the other hand, if you try to interpret it differently, it's not quite a polarization, it's just a difference in opinion based on where you live, and that is also possible to overcome. So it depends how you interpreted this. And everything was about, and people said that it was challenging, but it was interesting to engage in a dialogue. You needed to exercise curiosity. People tried to be polite, and they also accepted some kind of social ignorance. So socially acceptable ignorance. It's okay not to know, so you can learn. And it was about sharing, and everyone appreciated the sense of being able to take part in some kind of democracy. Just some bragging about. There has been published a lot in Scandinavian languages, but this is what these two are recent volumes, not so recent volume in English, but also of course this one. This is the latest book in Swedish and Danish and Norwegian, and it orbits around the same things as we have been talking about. It's social inequality in health, it's increasing polarization, it's immigration, it's socially divided cities, and it's climate, sustainability and environment. But which also runs through this, which is more than 10-15 years, is the call for more community art, community music, community theatre, applied drama, creativity and fun. We need to have fun, but otherwise we can't do anything. You lose hope if it's not fun. Just one more bragging. Our university has, together with a lot of universities across the globe, been running this virtual campus for community work. And it's been extremely successful, recruiting students from places who would not ever be able to take part. So if you don't know the work camp, please check it up. It's a very interesting community across the globe. And I even changed my batteries. And that was, I jumped one too much. Yes. Just once more, just summing up, sense of community without unity is a kind of what we strive. But we are challenged by social differences, globalization, climate changes, like everyone else. There is a pressure, particularly in the Nordic states, on our welfare models and towards a welfare mix. And there are also conservative governments in all these countries, and they are pressuring towards outsourcing public responsibility, outsourcing public institutions, just as you said, and also inviting in private and public and also voluntary sector. And that gives some possibilities, of course, but it's also very challenging. I already mentioned the digitization and self-management, which creates new divides, following age, but also following education. There is a change in settlement patterns. We have a very rural population, but also it's changing, and that is also difficult. A parallel process from this welfare mix is also a call for corporate social responsibility. So when the private sector is invited, are also expected to take some kind of responsibility and do ethical, sustainable, whatever. Yes. Okay. That was 5 minutes, 6 maybe. Quick and dirty.